Thank you so much, Chairman, for your introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, today it is my honor to be here to present to you our study with the title A Hepatitis A Outbreak in a Province of Vietnam, 2013, a mass case control study. As you know, hepatitis A is a liver infection caused by the hepatitis A virus, and this virus is highly contagious and can be easily transmitted via oral and fecal-oral routes, or either through eating or drinking contaminated food or water. It is estimated about 10 million hepatitis A infection each year in the world, and the hospitalization rate for the hepatitis A infection is about 0.3 per 100,000 cases. The common symptoms of hepatitis A is fever, fatigue, dark urine, and jaundice. The most severe consequences of hepatitis A infection is fulminant infection with 50% case fatality rate, but it rarely happens. It is unknown exactly the incidence of hepatitis A annually in Vietnam. There was a study conducted in a southern province of Vietnam in 1994, so 97% of study participants positive with IgG antibody anti-hepatitis A. No outbreaks of hepatitis A were reported in Kon Tum province in the past. However, hepatitis A outbreak occurred the first time in 2013. And the epidemic area is agriculture and poor development area, with the total population of approximately 13,000, with 11% of them were ethnic minority people. And for the epidemic area, more than 90% of the whole host family here, they use the well water, and majority of the water were shallow with poor covers. Our studies aim to describe the epidemiological characteristics and identify the risk factors associated with this outbreak. We conducted a descriptive study for epidemiology to describe the epidemiological characteristics of this outbreak, and a case control study with matched were performed to identify the risk factors. A case patient is a person who lives in the two epidemic communes from the early May to at the end of September 2013, who was clinically diagnosed with acute hepatitis infection with or without laboratory test for the hepatitis A IgM antibodies. The control were matched with a case by age and gender, and the control must be the neighbor of the case. The control must have no hepatitis A acute symptom in the last 2 months and had no history of hepatitis A infection and hepatitis A vaccination in the past. We conducted face-to-face interview for control and cases by a structured questionnaire. In the questionnaire, we asked the participants about their demographic, socio-economic characteristics, about their education, occupation, about their history of food and water consumption in the last 2 months. We also conducted review the medical records of the cases and laboratory test results of the cases. Here are the results of this outbreak investigation. In total, we have 61 cases. Among of them, 57% had laboratory tests. And as you can see in this map, majority of the cases here were concentrated in 2 communes. Only few other cases were later reported from the other area. This is the epidemic curve of this outbreak. The first case was an ethnic minority girl. She was 12 years old and she had the symptom onset in the middle of May. This outbreak showed a peak in the early of July, and the number of cases continued to be reported until the end of September. Here is the characteristics of the respondents in the case-control study. As you can see here, we interviewed 47 cases and 52 control. Among of the case group, we have the median age of the patient were 15 years old, and 51% of them were male, and 47% were ethnic minority people. 62% of the cases had the laboratory test, and 9 patients were not interviewed because they were not at home at the time we visited their families. Here is the graph describing the education level of the study participants. As you can see, majority of them attended the secondary school or higher, and the higher percentage of the control who had completed the high school or higher, and there were more the cases who were illiterate than the control, but the difference is not statistically significant. Majority of the participants were farmers or students, but no difference between the cases and control regarding their occupation. There were 2 kinds of water sources used by participants, well water and stream water. Majority of participants use well water, only few of them use stream water, and there is no difference between cases and control group regarding their water source using. After applying logistic regression analysis, we identified 3 risk factors associated with this outbreak that are drinking unboiled water and not having a toilet at home, or the person from the poor family in this community. Individuals with the characteristics were more likely to have been infected with hepatitis A compared with other people in this community. Our study also has some limitation. Based on our finding, we could not identify the source of infection. And another limitation is the confounding of the major risk characteristics. And as you know, in the case control study, always has the potential for selection bias and recall bias. In conclusion, it is a disseminated outbreak of hepatitis A originating from an index case which propagated spread, and 3 risk factors are more likely associated with this outbreak: the poverty chain for low education and success for increase the risk for the minority group, and drinking unboiled water, and not having a toilet at home, the risk factors associated to increase the risk of hepatitis A infection in this community. Based on our findings, we would like to recommend the local people in this epidemic area to improve their drinking water quality via giving advice them regarding boiling water before drinking. Also encourage them to build their toilet at home, and the prevention efforts should target the poor people in this community. Thank you so much for your attention.
Gracias, doctor. Si tenemos algunas preguntas, por favor.
Huilai Ma come from China FDP. Could you show me the map, this case distribution map? Okay. From this map, we can see the case located among the 2 areas. My question is, could you find what difference between these 2 areas with other areas? the water source is different, have any different?
Thank you very much for your very good question. Actually, this is a remote area, and the people here, they use the water like the well water. Majority of them, the difference between this area with other area is the water source use. Yeah, and it likely, I don't have data, but likely they are in the lower socio-economic level compared to other area. Yeah, thank you.
Tenemos una pregunta más, por favor.
My name is Jesada from FETP Thailand. I would like to ask you, thank you very much for your presentation first, and I would like to ask about why did you use match case control? What is your assumption about this? And according to match case control, how did you calculate odds ratio?
Thank you very much for your very good question. As you know, to have a very good the risk factor and eliminate the confounding, yeah. So we need to think about matching, and when we matching, we will eliminate these characteristics, but we will have a very good statistics test because we will delete the confounding, because if we choose the children, after that we choose the control, either the elderly, it be very different. So it is hard for the data analysis. Yeah. It is the odd ratio after adjusted by the matching. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you adjusted.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you for presentation. Do you have the information about the attack rate among the poor families and attack rate in better families? And what is do you have the idea about the primary and secondary cases in the families?
Thank you very much for your question. Actually, when we did the interview, the majority of them in the poor family. So the attack rate in the poor family likely higher than the very few not poor family in this community. Yeah.
Muy bien. Agradecemos la participación en la presentación del doctor. Y un aplauso, por favor.
Okay, I would like to introduce the next speaker. This is Dr. Githarani.